start the recording right now so I don't forget again. There are.
Yeah, it looks like we have.
Yep, we were talking about
lymphosarcoma.
Let me just introduce. Is that you, or is there somebody else talking?
Just me.
Yep.
Was I echoing?
Yep, you're fading in and out, but let's get started. This is Jeff Hyman. I'm Jeff Hyman. That's Christina Chambreau. We're both licensed veterinarians and certified veterinary homeopaths. And we're here really to help you learn what the best ways are to take care of your pets. And the way you're going to learn the best ways is to learn your treatment options, to know what's available and what is important to focus on as far as your specific dog or cat or other animal companion. I know Louise had a question or a couple of questions. I'm here today at the rescue, and they also had a couple of questions that I would like to address. But first, did you have something you wanted to say, Christina, before I get going, before us?
Well, I just think we should probably start in with Louisa first and then move to the cat sanctuary. And the key thing I want everybody to know who's listening and watching this either now or on recording is never give up hope, regardless of what the problem is. There is always something you can try and something you can do. It may or may not result in an actual cure. And animals, part of their healing and part of their life, just like ours, is to die. So it is part of transition, is part of life. And we need to come to learn to appreciate that and love that. But never give up. There's always things to try. And that's one of the things Jeff and I are here to talk about every time, are the many things that are 100% safe that you can do at home yourself, like Reiki, acupressure, flower essences, and other energetic healing methods, healing touch for animals. These are things that are completely safe, and you can be doing them at home. So Louisa put in the chat room that she has a 6-year-old Australian Shepherd who's Apollo, who's just been diagnosed with lymphosarcoma, and the conventional veterinarian says there's no cure. Some conventional veterinarians would say we could do and list chemotherapy and radiation and other approaches, but they're rather than those approaches, I would always start with looking to see what feels right for you to do. And with Louisa, what I would do immediately is begin to work now with a homeopathic veterinarian. That is your best bet of helping Apollo through the lymphosarcoma. Jeff, do you have any lymphosarcoma cases you can tell her about?
Yeah, I have a lot, but it really depends on the individual. And Louisa and I were talking a little bit before we started that it really depends a lot on Apollo. I mean, in general, Louisa, the more, we talked a little bit about the hybrid vigor, about the, fact that it's good that Apollo is a mixed breed and not a pure breed. But another factor that's really, really, really important, and which I'm trying to stress as well with the rescue, which most people over here have only conventional vet backgrounds or medical backgrounds. What I'm trying to stress is that all of the drugs, and especially if they're really effective drugs, because effective drugs mean they're getting rid of the symptoms, and the more effective they are, the stronger they are, the more they weaken the vitality. And therefore, the healing ability of the individual is more and more compromised the more drugs that you use. So in general, the closer you're able to stay to the natural state, meaning without drugs, and rather than the other factor in vitality and healing ability is the diet you feed, vaccinations, and all the things that we're going to talk about here today. So all that varies depending on the individual patient. So that's why I really can't answer your question as far as what's going to happen to Apollo, but
Well, we can't say what's going to happen to Apollo, but Louisa, rather than trying to get a holistic vet, which you're doing and you're on waiting lists, you want to get a homeopathic veterinarian or a very good, well-trained veterinarian in traditional Chinese veterinary medicine. The good thing about homeopathic veterinarians is that we are still able to help you by telephone. So go to the website, www.theavh.org. That's the Academy of Veterinary Homeopathy. So theavh.org. And go down, make a search on there for phone. You can do, like a limit, put a filter in for phone consulting veterinarians. And you will find one who can take you on within a week. Often you'll find somebody who can take you on within a day. And while it's not, and call several, see who you feel comfortable with working with. So, there's Jeff Feynman right here, not myself. There is Jeff Levy, who's in Massachusetts. He's treated a lot of cancer. There's Charlie Loops treats a lot of cancer, and he's not in the AVH. So his number is 919-542-0442. And you can tell by that I'm a NLP visual person. I was looking up for the number. And so definitely do the homeopathy. That's the approach you want to do. Again, or if there's somebody right near you for acupuncture, but you have to go 2 and 3 times a week at the beginning. So they do have to be close by if you're doing acupuncture and Chinese herbs. And also, I would make sure you're feeding a fresh food diet, preferably raw meat and pureed vegetables. No grains, absolutely no grains. When you say that Jeff Friedman is on the list that you sent in for, tell me what you mean by you sent in for a list. Because you should just be contacting him.
I believe Louisa may be one of the files on my desk of people that, because my practice actually right now, Christina, is closed.
Oh, you're closed now. Okay. So X out Jeff Feynman right now and go to some of the others I mentioned.
Yeah, I'm.
So try Jeff Levy, Charlie Loops, Larry Bernstein, Todd Cooney. Help me out, Jeff. Who else would be some good cancer guys?
A big fan of, you're trying to find someone that can actually feed the dog. In this area, Louisa, I'll certainly go over Apollo's file and give you a call on Monday. We'll decide at that point where to go from there. Because I really don't know all of his details off the top of my head. But yeah, okay. I think that you and I will talk on Monday if have his info at home. But as you can imagine, I'm going to be very backed up on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday.
Because you've been out of town.
Yep.
So let's do a quick answer. Louisa also asked, is garlic good for fleas? Does Apollo have fleas, or is this a general question? And my answer is yes, garlic's good for fleas. What they say about garlic is not right. You can feed garlic. It's fine to feed garlic for most animals. And if you want to learn more about fleas and preventing them naturally, I wrote a really wonderful Kindle book. And you don't have to have a Kindle reader to read a Kindle book. So it's called Fleas Be Gone by me. The Seresto color. I've never heard of that. Is that a flea treatment?
Seresto, yeah, it's one of the new strong colors that are out there.
Oh, a collar. Oh, I thought she was using some sort of cool color therapy to prevent fleas that I hadn't heard of. Oh, yeah, get rid of the collar immediately. Get rid of any toxic things. Don't give heartworm. Don't give flea control. Don't do anything toxic when you have an animal with cancer.
Yeah, when you're talking about cancer, you definitely want to stay away from the strong drugs. And again, we'll talk a bit about that on Monday.
And I think, Jeff, you're perfect to be answering what Jennifer is talking about, because she's asking about a panting kitty and starting kitties off for their health visits. And you're right down in the middle of a cat sanctuary right now. So that's your perfect answer.
It's a mainly dog sanctuary that also has a bunch of cats. I think right now they have 50 or 60 dogs, most of which were blacklisted, which basically means they can be put to sleep and found to be unadoptable by other rescue organizations. And On the Wings came in and rescued them, rehabilitating them, retraining them, because a big part of the program is training. And then they're going to find them suitable homes. And what I'm doing here is we are treating all the dogs and cats with homeopathy, but combined with nutrition and all the other holistic modalities, looking at the whole individuals.
What are they feeding? Are they doing one particular brand, or are they doing fresh food?
It's doing fresh food, some brands, but it's all individualized. If I had to say the number one thing that they're giving right now, it's probably chicken quarters and or chopped meat. I think they get eggs in the mix. It's all good, fresh food.
Wonderful. And that's at a sanctuary. Have you written down? So let's let people know about the sanctuary. They can help contribute money so that fresh food can keep coming in.
Great. Gosh.
Not sure where you're at.
We're in Florida, actually. And
that's step one.
Yeah. And it's On the Wings of Angels. Nope, that's not right. It's On the Wings of Angels Rescue.
On the Wings of Angels Rescue.
Yep, and if you go to their website, Christina, see their page on the holistic care of their animals, which is what it's really all about. And the manager, the people that run the rescue, know that homeopathy is the ultimate holistic modality, and that it can scientifically get the body to heal as best as it can heal. So I had a question last night about, can this be treated, cannot be treated? The answer is always yes, but it depends. If something is really structurally wrong with the individual, then the body is probably not going to heal too well, or certainly fully. All of the other holistic modalities that you mentioned can start the body healing to its best, to its utmost. But homeopathy can do that in the most scientific manner, in that we've actually got what are now called drug tests, but what we used to call provings. So every medicine that we use has been proven on individuals, on healthy individuals, to see exactly what the symptoms, what the problems, what the clues are that can indicate that remedy. I don't think, are there any other holistic modalities to allow you to do that?
You're doing provings. You're giving homeopathic remedies to healthy dogs to see what symptoms they get?
I'm referring to the provings in our...
You're cutting out a little bit.
Sorry, I'm referring to the provings in our literature.
Oh, okay.
we've got volumes and volumes of info already, but it's all based on human information.
Yeah, no, we're the only one that does that. I want you to go on, Jeff, but I want to put in just a little plug here for Brighthaven, brighthaven.org. And that's a sanctuary that for about 20 years had 60 cats or more, along with other species, that were adopted at 16 years or older And they also felt that homeopathy was the major thing that had their animal, these cats, turn around and recover from, many of them recover from their illnesses. They also did Reiki, flower essences, and a really good diet. And they had one cat live to be 34 and had multiple cats live to be 28 to 30. And that's adopted as dumped animals at 16 or older. Phenomenal.
Yeah, it's amazing. Gail Pope is the fantastic owner or manager of the Bright Heaven Sanctuary, and yeah.
And they have some good pamphlets as well, especially about grieving and making sure you don't grieve. And this is to Jennifer: make sure you don't grieve before Apollo dies, whether it's soon or 10 years from now. Don't waste a moment of your life with him now grieving. So that's everybody. Don't grieve until they're gone.
Grieving, yeah. Jennifer actually happens to live right down the road from me. And
okay.
She and I are also going to talk on Monday about her kitties and about their breathing problem. But, Christina had a great point that you need to keep a positive attitude. And again, this wasn't directed as much to Jennifer as it was to Louisa with Apollo and the kids.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry about that, Jennifer. I got you guys mixed up.
You want to keep a positive attitude, that you don't want to give up. And of course, you need to be guided by what your dog wants. So if your dog is not having a good day, but he had a great day and was doing well yesterday, and even if the diagnosis is malignant cancer, it's not. You don't give up because of the diagnosis. You don't decide what to do based on a diagnosis. You decide what to do for treating your animal based on what is available and what can help and what is indicated for your specific situation.
Jeff, do you have any idea why I can't type? There's no space for me to type in the chat room.
Did you scroll down? Because it might be filled up.
I'm on Jennifer's last comment. Please, Jennifer, don't be worried. That was just my reading my notes wrong.
Yep. Nope, Jennifer. I actually have a patient that had the exact same panting kitten issue that you talked about. It just worked up out the wazoo because what are the possibilities? Lung disease, heart disease, or what Christina and I deal with all the time, which is functional disease, which means that there's a problem, there's a symptom, but you do all the diagnostics and that symptom doesn't show up in any of the diagnostics. So in this case, we ruled out heart problems, we ruled out lung problems. Pretty much everything has been ruled out, yet the cat's still having a problem. Well, the way we address that problem is energetically through medicines. And that's where homeopathy comes in, because we treat at the energetic level. And Christina, do you want to go into a bit more of what I mean by the energetic level?
Well, I will, and I want to do it through addressing you, Jennifer. So you have a kitten who's panting. One of the important things is in conventional medicine, and everything that you've sort of been trained in conventionally is to worry about different symptoms. See a symptom, worry about it, and treat it. Get rid of that symptom. And what Jeff and I are talking about is that there's an energetic basis to how we live. It's the DNA, but it's an energetic pattern that interacts sort of with the DNA that has our personalities and what we're sensitive to and what's going to make us sick, what hair color we have. Are we going to purr or not purr? Are we going to be a little bit on the nasty side or just a super clingy cat or just right in the middle? So that's all determined by this energetic basis. And the first way we know that animals are ill is there are no symptoms, not even panting. But you're just living with your animals and you say, or your children or your spouse or yourself, and you go, something's not right. I can't tell you what, but something's not right. Well, that's when there's illness at the energetic level. And we can't treat it with homeopathy at that point because homeopathy is based on the totality of symptoms. But you can treat it with Reiki, healing touch for animals, quantum touch, theta healing, all the pure energy modalities could be used at that moment and maybe reverse it. So if you're using Reiki every day, then you might have an energetic imbalance begin, and you do the Reiki the next morning and it's corrected before you even have a sense that there's an energetic imbalance. If you're not doing something like Reiki every day, or if this animal was so sensitive to something happening, like maybe a solar flare, something you had no control over, or your neighbor spraying pesticides, or the wood that you bought had pesticides or a mold or a mushroom or something that your cat was sensitive to, and then you develop functional symptoms that no cause can be found with tests. So basically, unless they're really ill, don't waste your money on tests. This is where all the things I've talked about already, the energetic healing, will heal the energetic pattern that's causing that symptom. And because we have symptoms, we can now use homeopathy. When you can find a remedy that would fix the panting of your kitten, and you may not need to even address that. It may be totally normal. You'd have to speak in more detail to somebody to see if that's an abnormal panting or just kitten running around and then is panting. It's really hard for us to do that on this show. If we had enough symptoms and we gave a remedy and the panting went away and the kitten felt great, there would be a chance that this kitten would be much healthier for the rest of its life because we didn't fix the panting. We fixed the energetic pattern that was sensitive to something that in healing itself caused the panting. So by fixing that energetic pattern, we've now fixed the panting for the rest of the life, as well as other symptoms. So for instance, I had a cat named Isis come to me at 6 years of age who had always had some coughing problems, treated by conventional vets with hairball medicine and other anti-cough drugs, none of which did anything. 5 years old, this indoor cat owned by an aged man was given all of his vaccines, including rabies, and the first of 2 of feline infectious peritonitis vaccine. That's malpractice to do that. It just is. And within an hour, the cat was blue and having horrendous asthma and had to go on oxygen. I saw the cat a year and a half later, multiple hardcore drugs, could not on the drugs, the quality of life was poor for the cat. No asthma, but no energy. If he tried to decrease the drugs a little bit for better quality of life, the cat ended up back on oxygen. So he came to me, and I was able to find the right remedy. We can't always, like Jeff was saying, every condition can be treated, but not each animal. In this case, I found the right remedy for Isis, and it was Thuja, which has asthma after vaccinations, among other symptoms for this cat. And as I gave some Thuja, I alternated that with decreasing the medications. And in a month, this cat was completely off of medications, not having any symptoms. The next occurrence of symptoms, I gave a higher potency. And the now 6.5-year-old cat went on to live to be almost 20. The owner had to go into a hospice. The cat was fed by a neighbor coming to the house twice a day. So big stress for a month to have that happen. And then when it was clear the owner wasn't coming home, the cat was adopted by the neighbor's mother in a home with cats and dogs, and went ahead to live to be 20 with very few other problems. One time had a rodent ulcer that we treated.
Wow.
Which is good because it was on the skin, so that was an externalization from the asthma level. So we can definitely fix that when we fix the energetic level, the one symptom goes away, and then for the rest of their life, they're unlikely to have other symptoms. So that's why when you ask Jennifer, where should you go and what should you do for the very beginning with your kittens, you know, what's a basic kitten exam like? You want to go to a holistic vet, and you want to go to a good holistic vet. You want to start. It's now time to really seek out people who are veterinarians who've taken the time to learn some different approaches. Now, there's an article on my website, and my website is myhealthyanimals.com. There's an article on selecting and working with a holistic veterinarian, which gives you some guidelines, because not everybody listed in the holistic vet list is holistic at all. Some of them, when I've called and checked on them, they go, I don't know why I'm on that list. I don't do anything holistic.
And that's why I've got an article, is my holistic vet really a holistic vet? Because that's exactly right. I mean, I cannot tell you how many people, I mean, I was listening, I looked at up a website of a holistic vet the other day. It looked great, fresh food.
So, Jennifer, if you haven't started keeping a journal, so you can track symptoms. Whoops, Jeff has left. We only have
actually, I think it says for internet signal that we're only getting audio from you. So you may not see me because your signal's not good enough.
Oh, it's because of my signal that I can't see you.
Yeah.
Everybody else can chime in and let us know if we're, who you're seeing and if you can hear us. Always keep feeding back to us.
If you could.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, good. So at the beginning visit, you know, a vet, I always recommend going to veterinarians because veterinarians are trained to feel, hear, smell, touch. A Chinese trained veterinarian has also learned to feel pulses and look at your tongues. A homeopathically trained veterinarian has been trained to pick up nuances and little tiny lifestyle symptoms that can be put into the records so that you can track these over the years. Their fingers are feeling and palpating multiple animals a day, so they've learned what to pick up that's early, on the early side. And then your part in this is to, and also on that first visit, I think it's probably good to do a fecal. It's good to see if there are any worms there. And then you can decide how you want to approach.
You're back.
How you have how you're going to approach treating that or not. But that's a good basic. You want to have the heart listened to and a good physical exam done. Then you start keeping a journal and track all the symptoms.
And the fecal issue is real important because, especially for Jennifer, that is one of the big causes for the panting.
Oh, that's right. Sure, roundworms migrating. Good point. See, I've been more out of the vet field for a while. I just teach.
I also wanted to add a couple things about the early, diseases that Christina was talking about, the energetic diseases. I do a lot of wellness care and see a lot of healthy animals because that's what I want to do, because keeping them healthy and treating them when they get sick is so gratifying for me and the owners. But even if they're quote-unquote healthy and they come in and they only have very, very minor things going on that, again, diagnostically we can't. What's going on there, Christina? Looks like you're flipping us around.
I'm here.
So if all the diagnostic tests come back normal, or if the problem was not severe enough, we lost you, Christina. If you consider the problem not severe enough to want to, sorry, I'm distracted by technology, I guess. If you did not go for the workup, but you've got, a functional problem that you're concerned about, homeopathy can still treat that. So you don't necessarily need to use another drug or another modality. The reason I mentioned wellness care in the first place, and now you're going altogether, Christina. The reason I mentioned wellness care in the first place is because I'm thinking, for example, of Bo, who just came in a couple days ago, and he's a young puppy that has nothing going on, no problem, but his nice black button nose is fading, and both the guardian and myself noticed that the nose is a little bit lighter than it was last time I saw him. And that's enough to indicate at least starting him with homeopathic treatment. And then one of the beauties of starting early homeopathic treatment is it allows the body to then tell you what else might be going on internally. And the one thing we've learned is, or one of the things we've learned is the body never lies. And that's going to bring me to tracking of symptoms, which is actually what we're here mainly to discuss today. It looks like Christina just got back. Oh, you're both back.
Yes.
Are you on, or do you have any questions, or just go through what we talked about last night?
Just what we were talking about last night.
Okay.
Just, general theories of like homeopathy.
Basically, the big thing that we need to look at is to go back to what Christina said, that you don't focus on the diagnosis. You don't give up the problem. You don't give up because the problem seems insolvable. You consult with a homeopath either in person or on the phone as part of your vet team. Because what you're doing is you're building a vet team which basically is able to fully assess your animal, both from a physiologic and an energetic point of view. The energetic is, my understanding of the energetics is that the energetics of the individual, which basically is a reflection of the vitality of that individual, they are directly reflected in the signs and symptoms of the individual. So it's very, very, very important to track very closely the individual signs and symptoms, and not vaguely. I mean, this is what Christina wrote a book called The Healthy Animal Journal, and that's what the book is all about. Is, oh, there you are. Okay, sorry. Okay, you're back. Can you see me?
I'm back. I can see you.
Sorry. So track the symptoms, but track them specifically, because the symptoms are a direct reflection of the balance of the individual. The more imbalanced they are, the more serious symptom or the more different symptoms you can see. But then here's the rub. Symptoms need to be well defined. And that's what one of the virtues of the journal and journaling are. If a client says to me, my dog has diarrhea, what does that mean to you, Christina, diarrhea? Something's going on.
Frequency of how often they go. It could mean consistency. It could mean odor.
Time of the day, mucus, blood, straining. I mean, there's a billion things that you can describe, or a lot of things that you can describe about every symptom. So it's going to be very important. And you're remembering that to report to me or Christine or anyone else is not very likely if it's a month down the line. if I say to you, well, tell me about the diarrhea that your dog had 3 weeks ago, he'll say, well, yeah, I had diarrhea. If there's something that stands out about it, there's blood or a horrible odor, you might remember, but it's really important to track and write down and report the symptoms to your doctor, or just keep it for yourself. A lot of my clients keep a journal at home online where they just have a list of all of the various symptoms that their dogs manifest or show or may show, and day by day, what's going on with this symptom, what's going on with this symptom, what's going on with this. And that is one way to do it, but it's overwhelming for a lot of people.
There's something really important in addition to keeping that list. And it's one thing I encourage people in the book to do. And when people are doing it at home on the computer, Jeff, you may want to add this in. And that is to write down an equal number of fun, wonderful, sweet, wonderful, good things that happen the same day. So if you have one symptom, write down at least one good thing. If you have 10 symptoms, write down at least 10 good things. Because you want to focus on the good while you're tracking these negative symptoms.
Well, but I wouldn't consider them negative symptoms, Christina. And that's what I was about to say, is that the most important things that you're tracking are the energy of the individual. I mean, the only clue that a pet is responding to a remedy might be he's all of a sudden started playing with a toy that he hasn't played with for 6 months. But at the same time, he may have profuse diarrhea. Well, that to me is not. That is a good diarrhea. You want that diarrhea to persist. You don't want to suppress that diarrhea. That's not a bad symptom. That is a clue that the individual whose energy is improving is actually healing, and they're healing by detoxifying their body through diarrhea, any other discharge from the eyes, from the nose, itchiness, a rash, pimples, all that can be a good sign, which is why I don't characterize symptoms or as good or bad. They have to all be looked at in the context of the individual.
Well, and that's really an important piece. A lot of people start doing homeopathy on their own without studying the principles and the philosophy behind it. And so when they see diarrhea after giving a remedy, they may then think they've done the wrong remedy and not realize that it's a cleansing, that it's actually curing, that it's a symptom more on the outside, that itching. Sometimes dogs have very serious heart problems or a very serious liver or internal problem. And as they're healing, they may just destroy their skin. I was treating a Cushing's dog, and as the dog became better, she developed warts all over her bald skin. And if you weren't trained to understand how homeopathy works and how, not really homeopathy, but healing works, then you would be freaked out by that. So it's really important that you read the philosophy books. Don Hamilton's book, Homeopathic Care of Cats and Dogs, has chapter 2 and 3 on the nature of illness and the nature of cure. And that's really important. If you own that book already, go back and reread those chapters. It's mandatory frequent reading to read those. And I have a page or two in my journal on that. And Wendy Jensen's new book talks about that. Do you give her title? I forget already.
Practical Homeopathy, and I'm actually going to be in the process of trying to get some samples and excerpts.
Oh, good.
Book, yeah, to send out to people, and I was actually looking to see if I could do that right now, but for some reason my thing is not working there.
We also had a question. So Jennifer, if you wanted more questions, if we didn't fully answer your questions, let us know. And then Jingling asked about foods to recommend for so many of the customers who come to her boarding kennel have dogs with skin problems. And the first thing I would recommend right away is probiotics. probiotics and digestive enzymes. And then have the conversation with them about feeding fresh food. The only reason for people there's no excuse for not feeding fresh food. There really isn't. If a sanctuary like what Jeff is at now can manage to make that a priority and feed, how many dogs and cats do they have there, Jeff?
12 or 50.
No, you've got 50 of it. Probably over 100 dogs.
Over 100, and they're feeding a fresh food diet by and large.
They're feeding the
So
best.
same thing for Brighthaven. They were feeding a fresh food diet by and large. You can integrate it into your household. It does not cost more money if you do your research. You can, if you have big dogs, you can feed tongue, you can feed hook, you can feed other parts, heart meat, tripe. You can get deer meat, often for free. Raw food and fresh food. I say fresh food because not all animals, if you look from a Chinese medicine standpoint, some animals may need warming foods. They may need their food warmed up. I tend to go more for a raw meat diet, but I am open to the fact that I've seen a number of animals do better, actually improve, when the meat was cooked lightly or the vegetables were cooked. I had one very big dog getting 4 cups of food a day. When she added 1 tablespoon of cooked rice to the diet, and we say don't feed grains, when she added 1 tablespoon of cooked rice, the hair coat would glow, and the dog was better overall. So by really carefully observing, you can see what foods are the best. But the most important is fresh food, not processed. Dog food, cat food is not needed. Never, ever feed dry food to cats. And then once you realize that fresh food is the best, then you have a lot of difference of opinion. Some people say just feed raw meaty bones. Some people say feed raw meaty bones and pureed vegetables. And there's all different opinions. And that gets back to what Jeff was saying earlier, is that every animal is unique. They each have a different energy field, a different pattern, and therefore may need slight tweaks to the diet to make it a better diet. Now, in the meantime, of course, a lot of people coming to you for boarding their animals may not be ready to make that switch. So what I would do is go to your local stores where they could easily go, where you can send them to that store or carry it yourself, and get 1 or 2 of the better brands of foods. And you know they're better because you have researched them. You've talked to the owners. You know where the source of their foods are. Because here's the thing, there is no one right answer. Some dogs need organic, free-range meat that's raised on pasture, and cats that's raised on pasture, that's never been fed GMO feed, which is soy and corn. And other dogs do fine on grocery store meat. Same thing with people. Some people need super high quality, others don't need as high a quality. So it's a matter of feed the best you can afford. Even in deer, even if you're getting deer meat, you have to think about, where did that deer eat? Was it eating in a GMO cornfield, or was it eating in a nature preserve, in a forest? So you need to follow that. But to help people shift to a fresh food diet, first you go to a higher quality food. And if they see an improvement, if you're lucky enough that that animal sees an improvement, then you can go, you'll see even more improvement if you go to raw food. And Steve Brown's latest book, Unlocking the Canine Ancestral Diet, recommends feeding 1 fresh food meal a week, because he said people are so reluctant to change. So if you feed just 1 meal a week, you will see improvements. So the best you can do is go to a local farmer, get it fresh from them, get raw milk from the cow. I just discovered a raw milk source for our family, and they will sell it in Maryland. As long as they're selling it to somebody who owns a cat or dog, they can sell the raw milk. They can't sell it for human consumption. But guess who drinks it too? Moi.
Yeah.
So just slowly get people to move in.
And that goes directly into what Jennifer asking about, the quality of the meats that you get. And what I answered in the chat basically is organic is the best. You want to stay away from certain factory farm chicken and other highly treated fowl and cows. And as Christine said, the best, very best, is if you have a local farm. In our area, Jennifer, the closest place to get the kind of fresh quality is Craft Butchery down in Saugatuck. They actually do make a blend for dogs and cats. There are other farms in the area, but there are also a lot of fresh and raw frozen food sources that use good fresh food. And Steve Brown, you mentioned, has that great Steve's Real Food, which is actually one of the foods that we're just starting to feed to my dog. And she's loving it and doing great on it. Christina is gone again for a minute. Let me see if I can get her back at all. Maybe. No. Okay. So I want to focus a bit on the other two of three things that I mentioned that are the most important things to focus on. It's what I call the big three. The big three are energy, the energy of the individual, the mood of the individual, and appetite. So if you're treating a problem, no matter how you're treating it, and all of a sudden that animal is not as energetic or not eating not as well, even though the problem is going away, that is not improvement. That is progress in the wrong direction. So the specific problem is getting better, but the patient overall is actually getting sicker. And that is why it's so important to focus on the overall individual, the whole picture of the animal. And that may be just looking at them every day. That may be the need to track and write down all of the symptoms of the individual, whether it's itching or ear problems or skin, other skin issues or diarrheas, or it might be that there are no physical manifestations and the only manifestation is, say, an elevated liver enzyme that was found on blood work, or a low blood count that was found incidentally on blood work. Well, that's why I think it's important to take all of the information into account when you're deciding what the level of health is of the individual and when you're treating the individual. So Lisa just said that, Apollo, who has diagnosis of cancer, he said his blood work is all good, which is a great sign, Louisa. A lot of dogs are diagnosed with lymphosarcoma, and they've got anemia, they've got high white count, they've got other problems that make their prognosis even worse. So that's a very good sign. So energy, mood, appetite are the three big things you want to focus on, but you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You definitely want to use all the modern medical diagnostic methods that are available to you to quantitate your problem. So if you have a middle-aged or older pet that's having a specific problem, then I will usually recommend that you go and get blood work and or x-rays and or other appropriate workup for that problem. However, what's then most important is what you do with that information. Because are you then going to use the information to get rid of one little piece of the problem, or are you going to try and treat the overall individual? That's why I say that homeopathy is the ultimate holistic modality because it's a treatment method that basically takes everything into account and that allows you scientifically to look at all of the criteria for the individual, whether it's blood work or modern diagnostic information, or the symptoms and signs of that individual in front of them. As far as, so you're monitoring your patient, you're monitoring your dogs in the kennel, guys, and that's where the 4 Ps come into their importance. You can decide on if the dog is getting better or worse based on energy, mood, and appetite. But what symptoms, let's say your dog is fine in all the big 3s, but there could be other problems that you need to be aware of. And the 4 Ps basically are, well, number 1 is what's going on problematic to the individual. So is your animal, is your dog or cat having a problem that is causing it some kind of discomfort, or he's having to go have diarrhea every 2 hours, so it's affecting his quality of life. And that actually plays directly into the next 2 Ps, which are basically is the problem, is it prominent, or how prominent is the problem? So if there's one little thing that you see, it may be a problem, but if it's not prominent, it probably doesn't need or bear focusing on as much as some other issue. So is the problematic problem also a prominent problem? And is it persisting? So is it happening over and over again, day by day? Is it a problem that you've been seeing for a week every day, or you just saw it happen for, 1 episode, like Jennifer's kitty, I think, had 1 breathing episode 1 time? That is lower down on the hierarchy of importance of the symptom because it didn't persist. Now, if that kitty was having breathing problems day in and day out, then yeah, that would be and again today. So yeah, so I think we definitely will need to address the breathing issue. Jennifer and Christina is back, and that brings me to the last P, which is the symptom peculiar? So problematic, persistent, prominent, and is it peculiar? And peculiar is the kind of thing that if you tell to your regular non-homeopathically trained veterinarian, you tell them about it, they're going to roll their eyes, or they're going to say, well, we can't really do anything with that, because it is the kind of symptom that is not actually common for the specific problem or individual. It's a peculiar problem, and it is the kind of symptom that we as homeopaths love more than any other kind of symptom, because they are the best guides, or among the best guides, to the individual that is being treated. And Christina, is there any other comments about peculiar symptoms that you want to mention?
Well, that's from the journal. Sorry to bring that up. It's why keeping a journal is important, because you'll see those odd ones that make you think, that's weird. Why would a dog have more trouble walking when it's hot and dry? I thought it was worse in cold, wet weather. Those are the ones you're looking for.
And those are directly related, those specific examples. Those are what are called modalities. And the modalities are directly linked with not only peculiar symptoms, but all symptoms. And we love modalities. Modalities are like a guide to what's going on with that individual. A modality means anything that affects any symptoms. So I think Christina gave the example of the dog being on hot, humid days, or perhaps it's a specific time of the day. He only limps in the morning, or he eats really well, but he never eats breakfast, no matter what I give him. He acts hungry, but never eats breakfast. Well, there are rubrics, there are ways that we can fine-tune the medicines that basically they are useful for individuals that don't want to eat breakfast, but have good appetites otherwise.
Yep, absolutely. And another characteristic would be something like a dog that absolutely craves butter. Not just likes butter, but craves butter. I had a standard poodle. There's one for you, Jeff. Jeff has standard poodles, loves them. This dog in the office on the 4th floor of a townhouse, if somebody in the kitchen on the 1st floor opened the refrigerator door and then opened the butter tray door, the dog would run down 4 flights of stairs. That's craving butter. That's
cravings and aversions are up there as well. I remember a recent patient would offer him red meat in one hand and bread in the other hand. He would take the bread over the nice piece of meat. That's unusual, but that then guides us into the references that allow us to look at these homeopathic medicines that crave bread, and that is actually what helped that specific patient, one of those.
Absolutely. Well, it's 3:01, so I guess we better wrap up.
We can wrap up, and I was typing, but I'm a slow typist, so I'll say it. Louisa, you asked about garlic and how much is toxic, and I would refer you to my most recent blog post, which was just about that. It was about why, are garlic and onions and other similar foods, are they really toxic? Are they really poison? And the answer is yes and no. So as Christina said, and as we all know, most dogs tolerate and do just fine with garlic. But there are individuals that, I was at a recent conference, they just put garlic on the pizza and the dog would get hemolytic anemia every time. That dog should never get garlic. But anyway, yes, it's time for us to wrap up. Is there anything else that you want to mention, Christina, for today?
No, just I'm so glad every one of you came and are looking at different ways to have your animals be healthy. And please spread the word. Let your friends know. The boarder, please let everybody know. I like your jingling jingle Twitter hashtag. So let everybody know about that and let them know about the sanctuaries as well. And there's a meeting going on here, so I'm going to say goodbye right now.
So we're going to go. Is there anything we need to cover? I mean, we kind of talked about it all. So about, if there's anything else, we'll talk about it next week or post it online. So thank you all for coming, and we will see you soon and see you online. Thanks. Bye.